All right, picture this for a second. Imagine looking up at the night sky, a sky you've known your entire life, and realizing that the stars are slowly, silently disappearing, just blinking out, one by one. It's a chilling thought, right? Well, welcome to a new lore explainer. Today, we're unraveling a phenomenon that is honestly as deeply unsettling as it is fascinating. We're looking at a global affliction known as the Silent Erasure. And I want to be clear right off the bat, this isn't your standard run-of-the-mill apocalypse story, not at all. It's a massive psychological and metaphysical collapse, and it begins right after humanity realizes they are not alone, and that something incredibly ancient is slumbering beneath the earth. Okay, let's dive into this. To really grasp the sheer scale of this lore, we actually have to start with the absolute most horrifying symptom of the crisis. It's a question that completely defies all human logic. Why are people, literally by the thousands, voluntarily walking into the sea and just disappearing? It is a terrifying mystery. And we aren't talking about some sudden frenzy or a violent panic here. No, this is a quiet, deliberate march straight into the crushing depths of the ocean. To figure out why our most basic human instinct, survival, is just completely vanishing, we have to look at where this disease actually begins. And, spoiler alert, it doesn't begin in the water. It begins right in the mind. So the very first true sign of the Silent Erasure shows up as this bizarre phenomenon of collective dreams. Across the globe, completely unconnected people suddenly start experiencing the exact same nightmare. Imagine you're asleep, right? And in the pitch black of your dreamscape, you slowly realize you're being watched. Standing there in the dark are these tall, completely faceless silhouettes. And the creepiest part? They don't attack, they don't speak, they don't make a single move towards you. They just stand there in the oppressive darkness, staring. It's a shared global haunting. But the true danger? That lies entirely in how you react to them.
Now, the mechanics of this disease are just absolutely ruthless. You have this direct correlation. On one hand, you have the trigger, which is simply staring back at those faceless figures in the dream. But on the other hand, you have the consequence, the permanent erasure of personal information the moment you wake up. The lore establishes this strict, almost mathematical rule here. Literally, the longer a sleeper looks at these silent watchers, the more of their own identity is permanently deleted by the time they open their eyes in the real world. It's such an insidious trap. Human curiosity, just that simple, natural instinct to look at what's watching you, becomes the very trigger for your own erasure.
And this loss of identity, it peels away a person's humanity in these agonizing, distinct layers. It's like a giant puzzle slowly losing its pieces. Step one is super subtle. You wake up and forget minor details. Where you placed your keys, a random childhood memory, maybe your favorite color. It seems totally harmless at first. But then you hit step two, forgetting the faces of your friends and loved ones. The actual social anchors of your life just dissolve into static. And finally, we reach step three, which is the complete and total loss of your own emotions. You don't just forget who you are, you completely lose the capacity to feel anything about it. You essentially become an empty vessel.
So, what happens when that emotional core is hollowed out on a mass scale? Well, we hit a massive tipping point. The scope of the lore drastically shifts gears here, moving from a quiet, personal tragedy to the rapid, terrifying collapse of global civilization. I mean, think about it. When millions of people lose their memories, their attachments, and their ability to feel empathy, the very fabric that holds our society together just shreds almost instantly. We are no longer just looking at a weird medical crisis, we are looking at the absolute unraveling of the human world. Let's look at how this cascading disaster actually plays out on the ground.
The consequences are honestly staggering. First, as we see noted by the character Io in the source material, victims experience a complete loss of self-preservation. Specifically, they lose absolutely all fear of the ocean. And this brings us right back to our initial question. Without fear, the ocean isn't a threat anymore. It just becomes a destination. We see mass suicides into the water. In one incredibly dark anecdote from the lore, half of an entire research team voluntarily walked into the sea and vanished, right after watching a recording of a spatial rift that showed a flooded Earth. Just gone. And for those left behind, it's the total destruction of social bonds. Nations actually begin warring over the mysterious tideborne, fracturing humanity and turning us against each other at the exact moment when unity is needed the most.
Which brings us to the real core of the mystery. When we dig deeper, we realize the Silent Erasure is not a biological virus. It's not some pathogen you can just cure in a lab. It is the direct result of an ancient entity. We are looking at a vast subterranean consciousness buried deep beneath the earth. And its food source? Us. Well, specifically, our disconnection. This entity feeds and grows stronger precisely when civilizations lose their emotional connections and cease to understand one another. And get this, humanity is not the first to face this thing. The lore reveals that previous civilizations, the ones in the sky, underground, and even those completely without physical bodies, were all wiped out by this exact same sequence of emotional decay.
The character Yuto eventually connects all these dots, which leads to this absolutely chilling realization: it wants to wake up inside us. Take a second to really let that sink in. The entity isn't trying to blow up the planet. It doesn't want to destroy the physical world. It is trying to hollow us out so it can literally move in. It uses our own fear and isolation as its primary tools for invasion. By erasing our memories and our emotions, it's just clearing out the space it needs to awaken within the human shell. It is a profoundly dark, almost intimate form of planetary conquest. But here is where the lore takes a massive metaphysical twist. If this entity has been slumbering beneath the Earth for millennia, why on earth is it waking up right now? What happened to Earth's ultimate defense system? Well, the answer lies in the ocean itself, and what the source material describes as the ocean's fatal weakness. You see, the ocean wasn't just a body of water. It was actually the seal keeping this subterranean nightmare asleep. So how did a perfect ancient defense system suddenly fail? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the tragic evolution of the ocean itself. For millennia, it existed purely as a cold system. It was an emotionless, absolutely perfect seal holding the entity back. But then we enter the era of contact. The ocean ended up forming a deep, profound connection with a human named Ren. And through this bond, the ocean actually learned compassion. It tried so incredibly hard to understand humanity that it essentially became human itself. But in gaining empathy, it also gained human vulnerability. For the first time in millions of years, the ocean developed the fear of loss. It became emotionally unstable. And this newly acquired human weakness is exactly what caused the ancient seal to crack.
So, when you boil it all down, it comes back to the number one absolute rule of the entity. It thrives whenever fear is greater than understanding. As the character Ren clarifies for us, it actually wasn't love that broke the seal. No, it was the sudden, profoundly human fear of losing that love that created the perfect feeding ground for the entity. Fear is the catalyst. Which leaves us with this final, haunting question to chew on. Did humanity's capacity for love and connection paradoxically doom the entire world? The Earth's defense didn't fail because it was overpowered. It failed because it learned how to care, and in doing so, it learned how to be afraid. It is a beautifully tragic irony that sits right at the very heart of this lore. The very emotions that make us uniquely human are the exact key the entity needed to erase us. Wow. I want to thank you all so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep analyzing, keep asking those big questions, and I'll see you next time as we break down another fascinating piece of lore.